Welcome back to Port Elizabeth, the beautiful city. This is part 17, and we start where we left off on the previous, in the previous video with the Hill Presbyterian Church on the corner of Belmont Terrace and Alfred Terrace. And so what a stunning building it is. 1860s, I can't remember the precise date. But down below, let's just move up. So this is like an extension of Alfred Terrace, and that's called Constitution Hill, named again after a street in London. I think it actually runs up quite near Buckingham Palace. So what they're doing here, unfortunately, and you can see the difference, is they're taking historic buildings and just gentrifying them with not necessarily cheap, but sort of this kind of newfangled material for the roofs. And anyway, it's losing a lot of its character, but I suppose in the end it's going to survive. The area will survive in a new guise. So that's the old Hill Presbyterian, looking up looking up Belmont Terrace. So now we go down Constitution Hill, and we first visited this in the opening video. Quite interesting sort of image, that, if you think about it. So that's still a work in progress. Historic buildings, you can just see the decay that was allowed. I knew someone who lived in that block of flats. That's in the distance. You can see the Grey Institute. Look at the lovely light on this thing. The front, really, of the Hill Presbyterian Church. And this is the William Dunn Church Hall, which is just up Belmont Terrace from the actual church. 1886, designed by G.W. Smith. Yeah. And that's how they look together. Just behind the point from where I did this, when I first came to PE in 84, there was an open patch of land that you could park your car on if you worked down in the CBD, which is no longer a CBD. It's kind of just a, who knows, third world sort of. Okay, this is Victoria Street, which we saw a bit of earlier. And again, it's a whole terrace set up in the old English style. I didn't feel too safe walking down there, so I think I didn't. And there was some detail here about the history of this building, according to the website. So this memorial here is in 1822, designed by Victor Jones in memory of the dead of World War I. You can't really read that. Up Alfred Terrace again. And the lower end of Parliament Street, where it becomes Donkin Street, shortly before it becomes. Then the Donkin Row, having been restored, quote unquote. And the Grey Institute, completed in 1859. Interesting sculpture here, just waiting for thieves to steal the steel. So by 1900, the Gray Institute had about 1,000 pupils, far too many for this building. So in 1915, the school moved to more spacious premises in Mill Park. So that's where it is today. We get to look at the Gray buildings. Unfortunately, I've never been right inside the Gray complex in Mill Park, but it's also very impressive. So it became Pearson High and then the Albert Jackson Primary School. The clock tower, as I think I mentioned earlier, was added in 1875. Secular Gothic, it's known, this style. I always see a kind of a little smiley face in that clock tower. Look at that little grinning mouth. Yeah, unfortunately, we're not really doing justice to my photographs, which are quite nice in this light. I can't really capture it as well on the phone. But look at the stonework down the side. Stunning. This is from the Havelock Street side. From the front, obviously. And then from the other side, I think. Pearson Street. No, we're in Havelock Street. You're actually looking right through to the Edward Hotel on the other side. The Mediterranean Shipping Company owns the complex. I think they still do. So heading up Havelock Street, again, it's a historic street in early Port Elizabeth, sort of on the hill, as they used to say. And also not a very safe place. It's, yeah. But some lovely buildings here still. Vine and Howard Auctioneers. And that's called the Central Arcade. Look at that, in the middle of town, just a beautiful decorative building. Everything's still in place, just jarring note is this barbed wire here. And then a nice Art Deco block of flats next to it. Beautiful. And we're back to the Holy Trinity Church. This is quite a nice long view. It could be somewhere in the English countryside. So we saw this one earlier, burnt out. I don't know if it's been restored. Hopefully it has. But it's right next to a stunning building. So as you go down Pearson Street, you get a view of the Donkin Pyramid with the Edward Hotel on the right. And that's the back of the Gray Institute there. But it's this one on the left here that's also quite stunning. It's the old parsonage in Pearson Street. It's part of the Grey Institute complex. It's a Victorian house noted for its twin gables, wraparound veranda, tracery, and entrance porch. So we just have a quick squiz at the Edward Hotel on the right. And then this nice view of the old parsonage. Well restored, nicely looked after. And then even this little building attached to the Institute. And how's this? It's a Jones and McWilliams building, the Edward, opened in 1904, and this was the carriage entrance in Pearson Street. So you can imagine horse-drawn carriages coming in here. And that's the Edward. So this was Palm Court, and we used to, in the 80s, have a lot of functions in here. I mean, it was a good drinking place for young people to hang out. There was a bar at the end, so you had chairs all around inside here, and I think the bar was through there. And also entertainment areas off both sides. I mean, you could hold several functions simultaneously there. And a great old dining room as well. And there's a nice view up Pearson with the ornate Edward on the left and then that parsonage on the right. But unfortunately, in the last year or two, this hotel has been going to rack and ruin. It hasn't been used as a hotel really for the last 5 to 10 years. And they've painted it a garish blue. It's totally unsuitable, inappropriate. Because at this point, the paintwork wasn't looking too bad. That sign writing there leaves a lot to be desired, I think. Look at the detail on that. King George. Anyway, so this is looking across the restored Donkin Reserve where they've put a bit of arty stuff there. And down White's Road, you've got these lovely buildings. It's a Grand Hotel, and then the Grand was also included these settler cottages, which had been, at this point, were owned by its owner, really restored everything beautifully. And the classic view of the Donkin. Looking back up along Belmont Terrace, that's that original school in Port Elizabeth from about the 1850s, before even the Grey Institute. Yeah, there's that those lovely cottages in. You access them from Prospect Hill with the Edward Hotel. The walk up to the Donkin Lighthouse. That's another view down White's Road of the Grand Hotel, which is now no longer a hotel. Back up to the Edward. The little school, the Diocesan Grammar School, I think it was called. And some historic places in Belmont Terrace. Yep, Belmont. Now this actually tells you about the Diocesan Grammar School. opened in 1856 as the diocesan grammar school. It was later synagogue, then the Lutheran church, and it was an Indian restaurant when I got to PE. There we've focused a bit on it anyway. So this is looking down Prospect Hill, the Grand on the left, and the old original collegiate girls' junior school on the right. This is the Grand. The drill hall coming up on the right there, the Prince Alfred's Guard. And the house on the right, number 1 Prospect, at 21 Prospect Hill, listed as a heritage building. Double-story, semi-detached, Regency-style veranda, hipped roof, 2 fine chimneys, sliding sash windows, and fine detailing on the veranda, says the listing. So this is the drill hall. Fortunately, I was not a soldier who had to go here at any point. And there's a little bit about the drill hall. Opened in 1882, and an additional first floor was added in 1893. And the land next door was the parade ground. Of course, in this politically correct, that's the regional headquarters. What? Regimental headquarters of Prince Alfred's Guard. Oh. So looking back up Prospect Hill, and really that's a stunning streetscape. If you could just remove the cars, put a couple of horse-drawn carts there. But still, just the fact that they've retained these buildings. And now what lodge is this? Protea Lodge. Also lovely gables there. And even this, so this is Daly Street here. And we see a burnt-out building here owned by the same guy who owns a lot of this, like the old post office. Look at this Art Deco electricity substation. Attractive in its own right. And the view down Prospect to St. Augustine's and the harbour. And there, in its splendour, is the drill hall. Down, Prospect. Hope Street runs down the bottom there somewhere. And Castle Hill is this one going here. Now this lovely Art Deco building, my brother lived there for a while, a year. Watch out for this building. Another Art Deco. It's actually a reworked. Originally it was a sort of Victorian building, and then it was refurbished in the 30s or so. But it's been demolished because they let the whole thing be vandalized by vagrants. So we're going the wrong way, man. Looking up Castle Hill, Athenaeum right on the end there. We've seen it previously, and there's a great building here as well. So the summit is no more. Castle Hill, this one on the left, is no more, also demolished. These two, gone in 2019, I think. This one, right next to 7 Castle Hill, which is one of the oldest buildings in PE, Edwardian before the Victorian era, and the parsonage of the first minister, Anglican minister. But here, tragically, just left to rot right next door to this. So where the Reverend Francis McClelland, 1820 settler, purchased the plot in 1827. Georgian style, using yellowwood sandstone and locally made bricks and tiles. So not far from here is a street called Brickmakers Kloof Road. And that's where the original bricks were apparently manufactured. Across the road from number 7 are numbers 10 and 12. Constable Sturley owned these, the Sturley buildings, similar vintage. It's all about Seven Castle Hill. I think we're going to have to stop at this point and see you next time. Cheers.